Hi, welcome to my show where we interview and profile talented artists, musicians, filmmakers, writers, and people that are just out there making a difference in the world. Today I have award-winning musician, songwriter, John Lamb. And welcome, John.
Thanks for inviting me, Liam.
Well, I met John at the Rochester Writers Conference, was it, I believe, in October, and we were on a panel together.
That's
and
good.
He shared his story, his background as an artist, but what I really enjoyed is when you performed.
Oh. Thank you.
The songs that you shared, they were just really, really lovely, and I was probably like... people could probably hear me laughing at some of the lyrics, but I really enjoyed that. So I invited you here today so that you can share a little bit of that with our audience. I think they would really enjoy it. He brought his guitar, but before we go to that treat, I'd like for you to share a little bit about yourself. I know that you were... Well, first of all, I'm intrigued by your Italian background. Tell us a little bit about that.
I remember that we did talk about, we both come from, I think you're first generation American, and I am as well. And so that was probably a commonality that we enjoyed when we met at the Rochester Writers Conference. My folks are from Italy. They met in Windsor, Ontario, where there is a large Italian population. You know, on Erie Street, there's a little Italy there, and they met there in the early 50s and married there, and then moved to Detroit just before I was born. If you wanted to know where some of my musical influences came from, of course, my dad loved to sing Italian songs around the house, but I had a couple cousins that lived in Little Italy in Windsor, Ontario, and they had a band in Windsor that played all the Italian parties, all the weddings, and every time we'd go to a wedding, they'd be on stage, and I would be sitting on the edge of the stage listening to them, and it was my cousins Carmen and Ross Catero. And they had a band called Los Flamingos, and it eventually changed to the Sixth Avenue Band. And they did all Italian songs and Elvis songs.
Oh my gosh, I can just imagine that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, growing up, I actually didn't really see many films or anything like that regarding the Middle Eastern culture. But what I identified with was the Italian films. Like, I loved The Godfather because I thought, like, the wedding scene, it resembled the family.
Oh, yeah.
The way they prepare the food and the family dynamics,
right.
You can really relate to that. And so I was always watching foreign films, but Italian movies were really like something.
I mean, The Godfather is an American-made movie, but it did show the Italian culture in America.
Yes, exactly.
But I enjoy watching the actual, Fellini movies and those kind of movies, as well with the subtitles.
Yes, I was watching the ones with the subtitles too, because that even brings it closer to home.
Right.
And I've been to Italy, by the way.
Huh?
Yes, I have. I was there for several months and really enjoyed it. Instead of going to the north, though, I don't know where you're from, but I went to Sicily.
My mom's from Sicily. And my dad's from the central Italy, so two different regions entirely, yes.
Yes, and well, the reason I chose that is because I felt that, it was all Al Pacino's fault. Because, again, The Godfather and that scene when they go to Sicily.
Right.
But, the reason I chose Sicily, I just felt that it would be more where you can see the heart of Italy.
Right.
And I'll never forget, like, smelling the olives.
Yeah.
I remember that we were in a restaurant and they served a salad, and I'm thinking, where's the olives? I didn't see any olives. Well, it turned out that the olives from the farms and the groves, it's so strong that you actually think that you're, like, it's right in front of you.
Oh, yeah, no
this
kidding.
is, yes, it was, yes, you can smell it. So anyway, but yeah. But that's not solely why I invited you here. I love your music.
Thank you.
And I just think that the cultural background does seem to add on to that. I know that one project that you work on or events that you have is the Springfed Arts. If I'd like to learn a little bit, or the audience to learn a little bit about that, and then I have a little video that explains it even further.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay.
Or,
Well, I was in a rock and roll band for many years and playing in clubs and bars and concerts for a long time. And in the mid 90s or so, I started to branch out, and I did a local show at the Magic Bag Theater in Ferndale, where I was a variety show host, and I had a co-host by the name of Dave Dixon, who was a famous radio personality from on WABX and WDT anyways. And I did a lot of interviews like you're doing now with local personalities, mostly musicians, and I did a lot. And I did that for about 13 shows. It was on TCI cable. And after that was done, I thought to myself, I'm looking for something else to do that will keep me inspired creatively, because when my band was pretty popular, playing like all the best bars in the state, college bars and stuff, but we were doing less and less original music and more cover songs, and I wanted to write more and perform more original music, but in Michigan it was wasn't really a thing to do. But I had this idea for a fantasy songwriter camp that I would put on up in Harbor Springs, Michigan, at the Birchwood Inn. And in 1995, I did my first Lamb's Retreat for Songwriters, which invited songwriters to come from all over the country to spend a weekend, and everybody would write a song, and we would listen to other songwriters talk about their craft. And after doing that for a few years, it grew into something well-populated. And the reason I did that was because I was raising a family, and I wanted to tour around the country, but I didn't want to leave home so much. But I thought if I do this here in Michigan, it's a way of bringing songwriters to the state and sort of promoting myself and others. But it turned into something bigger than I thought. I mean, I was just looking to sort of make a few bucks and make it a gig out of it, But it turned into something where people really thanked me for creating a safe community for them to come and share their songs and write new songs. And I didn't realize it at first, but it turned into something that would kind of enrich my life for about 20 years now. And so a few years into that, I decided to create a nonprofit arts organization called Springfed Arts, so that people could donate to the organization and get a tax write-off and help out with so that I could hire more expensive artists from farther regions to come and perform and be on our staff. And then a few years into that, I decided that I wanted to try a literary retreat as well. And I think one of those videos talks about that too.
Yeah, so let me play that, and then I'll ask you some more questions about it.
All right.
Springfed Arts is a statewide nonprofit organization founded by John D. Lamb. Every November, for over 20 years, John has led songwriters retreats at the Birchwood Inn in Harbor Springs. John employs a staff of nationally known songwriters who offer workshops, one-on-one consultations, and performances over the course of the 3-day retreat. On the first day, each participant is given a unique song assignment written by John and based on a common theme. At the end of the week, everyone performs a newly written original song.
Over the years, we've had thousands of songs written here, and that to me is success. If I can get everybody to write a good song, or at least something that they feel like they can, with just a little bit of fiddling, they can turn into something even better, then we've done our job.
Following the success of the Songwriters Retreat, a conversation with filmmaker Michael Moore led to other creative events in northern Michigan.
We were talking, and I told him about my idea to put on a writer's retreat on Wallen Lake, and he and his wife, Kathleen Glenn, wrote me a check for $2,500 as seed money to get it started. And they also volunteered to be on staff. And that's when I called on people like M.L. Liebler, who was a professor at Wayne State University. I also called on Keith Taylor, who was my freshman composition teacher at Central Michigan University. Billy Collins, who was the United States Poet Laureate at the time when he came.
In addition to retreats, Springfed Arts holds a wide range of writing classes and readings year-round in the Metro Detroit area.
So over the years, I've expanded the poetry classes into including memoir classes and fiction classes. And we have now 3 sessions a year where we have teachers teaching classes in various libraries and community centers and coffee shops. And we put on readings throughout the year with poets and writers. And it's just blossomed.
And as for the future,
I'd like to do another writers retreat for poets and writers here in Harbor Springs. Just looking for the right time of year, and so stay tuned.
That looks like a lot of fun.
It is, yeah. It's
And having other, to the point where, now it's expanded to where you're having different events around the state. That's really wonderful.
And currently I'm doing a new literary retreat called the Lost Lake Writers Retreat. And this year we'll have our third annual, and that takes place in October.
And what is that?
It's it's with poets and authors, and it takes place at a different city. It's in Lincoln, Michigan, in Alcona County, which is near Tawas, or actually north of Tawas, near Alpena.
Okay.
And so it'll be our third year doing that, and we've had some famous poets and writers there as well. And because at the end of that video, I talk about wanting to start another retreat, a literary one. So that's the one that we've done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you can find out more about these retreats at springfed.com.
And
mm-hmm.
and I know some of the people that I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Springfed.org, that is, yes.
.org, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some authors that I know, very reputable, wonderful authors that are friends, like with me, Zilka.
Oh, you recognize Zilka? Yeah,
Zilka, we went to the same, the Rochester Writers Group, which has dismantled, but it's like, this was in the early 1990s. That we used to go to the same writers group, and she recently came when my book won an award. I had this little private party at my house, and she came, so
she's a wonderful poet.
Yes, she is. She's a wonderful
and she's
person.
been teaching for Springfed Arts for a long time too. She teaches classes in Ann Arbor for us.
Okay.
One of the things that we do locally now, and we started this maybe 10, 15 years ago, is I have various poets and writers who teach 6-week courses in either poetry, fiction, creative nonfiction, memoir. Mm-hmm. And these classes are available 3 times a year, the spring, fall, and winter. And people can sign up for these classes through springfed.org. And
cool.
And sure, Zilka has taught for us in Ann Arbor.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, yes, and this is what's great, especially when people, artists and songwriters, it's building that relationship. I know, somebody that I'd interviewed, Dr. Stan Williams, is somebody that he was my instructor at film school, and we've stayed in touch, and it's always wonderful to build a community. So when people are coming to these retreats, not only are they learning and it's getting inspired, but they're also building a community. They're building relationships that they can continue.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and like I said earlier, when I started doing these retreats, and it was like sort of just doing an open mic night or something, I was just looking for a way to make money. My vision was not looking that far into the future. I was just looking for another show, putting on another show, but it grew and grew into this community.
Well, it grew into this community because people want it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I found that out.
That's what happens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you
that's
found
right.
that out. Well, I asked you to bring your guitar because I want you to share with people the
Well, I just happen to have it right here.
You just happen to have it.
Yep.
Lucky us.
All righty.
So
I'll do this one song that is on my the last CD that was released. The CD was called Feel That, and this is a song about this time of year, winter time, that is. You can tell by the way we're dressed that it's winter, but it's about driving up north in Michigan. I'll be coming round Boyne Mountain when I come. Takes 3 hours from the thumb. Long as I survive I-75, look out for deer. Up until I reach north of Grayling, clear skies, smooth sailing. Then came the clouds, snow plows, look out for deer. When you're driving up here, don't you break for me, dear, dear. Why do you think I drive a four-wheel drive Mountaineer? When I got off in Gaylord, the thought occurred, nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's freezing rain, look out for deer. I'm on my way down 32. 131's then just a few miles from you. Are you on the hill? Are you in the lift line? Look out for deer. When you're driving up here, don't you break for me, dear, dear. Why do you think I drive four-wheel drive like Paul Revere? Are you a skier, Leon?
No, not yet.
Do they ski in Iraq?
No.
No, they don't, huh? Well, I haven't skied in a while either, but I used to ski up north quite a bit. I'll tell you about it. I'll be coming round Boyne Mountain when I come. And when I find you, we will make that run. Someone will ask, who's a man in a mask? Look out for deer. She'll be wearing a red parka's what she said. Meet me out on Hemlock once I get my family fed. No easy task, make a love last. Look out for deer. When you're driving up here, don't you break for me, dear, dear. Why do you think I drive four-wheel drive when you're driving up here? Don't you break for me, dear, dear, dear. Oh, thank you very much.
That was beautiful. Oh my gosh, I enjoyed it so much. And just like when you performed, like I said, at this is the first time I had actually heard your music. And you said it was, can you mention the name of the album that won the award?
Album was called Feel That, and it came out about 10 years ago, and I won the Detroit Music Award for that, Best Acoustic Recording of the Year or something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And was most of the songs and the music that you did
No, a lot of the songs I did that day when I met you are coming on my new record, which hopefully will be out by the end of this year.
Okay, what's the name of that?
I don't have a name for it yet.
Oh, you don't have a name?
Yeah, I'm recording. I have 14 songs recorded for it, and I still have to finish it up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you're coming out with a new album. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, how exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
But nobody else, I mean, I'm glad you're excited. Nobody's screaming at me with a deadline or anything, They just come when they come every 10 years. I put them out whether anybody wants them or not.
Oh, I see. Well, I really enjoy this kind of music, and it's like such a I mean, my kids...
You mean this kind of music that has like words you can understand?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. After listening to some of the music that my kids listen to in the car, and this is so refreshing.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
It's so heartfelt, and I love this kind of music and the words. And it was the same with all your other songs. I mean, there's the humor, and some were they're so heartfelt. Some were sad, some were funny, and it's just that's what life, It's like, and each one has its story. That's what I really love. It's
the thing that we're trying to promote when we encourage all these folks from different backgrounds to come up to our songwriting retreats, and we get everybody to write songs. And a lot of them are not people that go out and perform for a living. They're people that just want to have a song to take home to play for their friends or around a campfire or at a party. But what we tell people is that if you don't write the song, it won't be written. So every time somebody writes a song, what they're doing is they're adding to the richness of humanity. And you're learning something new from each person, that the way they think, or the way they write, and so it's a humanity thing. Mm-hmm.
See, and I love you saying that because even for myself, when I look at whether artists or songwriters or filmmakers, is just that, when you're putting something out into the world, what's the purpose? What are you putting out into the world? And I think a lot of people neglect to even ask that because they just want to put what's going to sell. So the art of it is lost, and it sounds like you're trying to bring that back, or you have been bringing it through.
Yeah, it's not lost. It's just we can't easily find it. It's not necessarily commercial. It's not what's selling. On mass. When you say our kids aren't listening to it on the radio or wherever they're listening to, or we have to seek it out. We have to find these kind of performers at smaller venues and house concerts and folk festivals, and if you look for it, you can find something that you can understand and relate to.
And that's a good point. I think that we have to expose, whether it's our children or even adults, to this kind of songwriting, this kind of music. Even again, whether it's films or something else. When you go and watch something, you're really promoting that thing, whether it's just about violence or whether it's just about whatever it may be. And so songs like this, or films with a purpose, or any kind of inspiring storytelling, it's very healthy. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
So now I know that you speak Italian?
I speak about 60%.
That's a lot.
Give me 2 days in Italy with a beautiful Italian girl, and I'll be speaking about 80%. I just need to practice it more.
Okay,
that's all.
What about any songs? Did you pick up any songs, Italian songs from all those years?
I translated a song to Italian with the help from my father, who passed away a few years ago. But I made a project of translating this American song, and I would call him up on the phone. I say, "Does this sound like it makes sense? I need to help me with it." And I was really proud to have translated an English song into Italian. And I was visiting relatives in Italy, and I was playing a bunch of songs to them, and they were enjoying the show. And then I said, "Well,
Italian?
Yeah, no, I was playing all these American songs to them.
Okay.
And then I said, "Let me play you the song that I translated into Italian."
Oh, like you surprised them.
And I launched into the song, and they said, "Oh, sing in American, sing in English." They don't want to. They don't want to hear my.
You're the American. You're the.
They love famous, English songs, and they didn't want to hear my butchered Italian. So I kind of learned a lesson there. I was like, stick with what you do best.
Stick what you do. Okay. So, but you said that where'd you go when you were in Italy?
Well, my father's from Molise, which is south of Abruzzo. He lived in a town called Agnone, which is vicino Campobasso. Close to Campobasso.
Oh, okay.
I said. Yeah, vicino means close. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a couple hours east of Rome. So I like visiting there. I've been there a few times, and he still has a couple brothers that are alive there. And then I also have been to Florence and Venice and Rome. I love those areas, but most of all, I love going to my dad's small town.
Wow. Okay, I'm jealous now because it's like, first, it's not easy for us to visit our birth country.
Right.
Yeah, and so a lot of Europeans or most countries, people can do that. But also because I did love Italy, and it's just that as you were talking earlier about having a young family and then not being able to travel, so that's where I'm at right now. But I will go to Italy once I can.
Well,
I'll just take my family.
What happened was my father took me when I was 10 years old, and it was the first time that he'd been back to his home country in 20 years. And he took me when I was 10. I spent 5 weeks there in the summer of '69.
Okay.
And so it was just a wonderful experience for me. And I think it sort of was one of the reasons why I love to read and why I love to find out how to pronounce things. Like your name, Wiam, right?
Yes.
Not Weem, like everybody says, right? Okay. But I'm kind of a stickler about names and pronunciations,
Well, people with that know other languages can, pick up names or different things differently. Yeah.
So that I have two boys, and each of them got to be 12 or 14 years old. I took them each separately to sort of
Oh, that is so cool.
retrace the same footsteps that my dad and I took.
That is so cool.
And,
yeah.
And then when I got married the second time, I went on a second honeymoon there.
And then you went there.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I'm too
Good
jealous
reason
now.
to get
So
married.
next
you know?
subject, I'm like ready to fly there. But
Right.
yeah. But so I only have a few minutes, unfortunately, and I was, because of your accomplishments. I mean, I have to say that I'm very proud that I have such people come and I
Thank
get
you
the
for
chance to
inviting me.
interview them, because I learn a lot, and I think that people, that's why I choose people that I think others can learn from and get inspired by. Just is there any kind of advice that you would give new songwriters or musicians, even writers? I mean, since you're
we always hear about people that sort of write every day, and it makes us feel like we're not doing enough. And I feel like what all you need to do is make an appointment with yourself. Give yourself permission to set aside some time to write. Don't get intimidated by these stories of writers who tell you they get up every morning at 5 o'clock and write for till lunchtime, and then even more so. Everybody works differently, and
That's
just
true.
I think what you have to do is give yourself permission and make an appointment.
Well, I think that's really great advice, because the times that I did try to push myself and get up early, I actually produced much less, because it wasn't my good time to write. I would say, especially when my kids were younger and I had my schedule was a little bit crazy, so I was always trying to fit in more pages, more words to get done. And I found it counterproductive. I would just end up getting more tired faster. So I thought, why am I fighting this? But this is a great advice. Sometimes, to just trust ourselves and kind of a little bit go with the flow rather than push for that, do more. And I think that comes across even in the way you present your music. There's something about it. There's like a subtleness, and there's some kind of ease in this noisy world. It's very soothing. It really is.
Well, the other piece of advice I could give is that, and I don't mean to make like a shameless plug out of it so much but consider attending one of my retreats or somebody else's retreats, a weekend event where you can go and rub elbows with other writers and also become a member of a community. It's a really good way to recharge your batteries and go home with this new vigor. Whether it's a songwriting retreat or a literary retreat, check it, and give yourself make it like a little vacation out of it.
Yeah.
And,
yes, exactly.
And it's sort of a nutritious vacation.
It's yes, and the writing life is different than other professions, because you are isolated in a lot of ways, and you're not in a company where you're meeting with other people and exchanging, and so you have certain periods of time that you can spend with other artists, and so it's really important to have
the
community.
hardest thing to do is to be at home and to go off to another room and write, especially if like when your spouse comes home or something, and suddenly it's so selfish to go into a room and say, I'm working on
Cut
a song
off your
or
whole
I'm writing.
life.
It's like, well, I just got home. How about having dinner together or something? Well, I'm busy on something. It's too selfish.
I'm writing the great
But if you
American
make an appointment, you go away from home and then try to do it.
And it's good for everybody. It's good for the person, and it's good for the family not to be with you. But I really enjoyed having you today. I really enjoyed your music. I look forward to hearing more.
Good.
I will be attending your events, because now that that's why I invited you, for selfish reasons, to be honest.
Right. Oh, good.
So,
right.
well, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And yes, thank you. Thank you for being part of the show.
Indeed.